with an update on Okada's status following his departure from New Japan and more. This is Wrestling Hub. My name is John, and you're watching the Wrestling Report. Before we move on, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Rambles with notifications on, and don't forget to like the video. Previously, former WWE star Dana Brooke, now using the name Ash by Elegance, said this about not receiving many opportunities in WWE. I honestly think they, WWE, didn't believe in me. You know, producers TJ Wilson was a very big advocate for me, and he would always be like, Dana can do it, Dana can do it, Dana can do it, and it wasn't happening. And I wasn't that girl. I wasn't the girl that they were trying to push to that next level. I was the one that I was always given to take the pinfall, and I was okay with it, thinking in my mind, there's going to be a shot. There's going to be that next time, and there just never was that next time. I fought so hard, I'll never forget this, and I think it was 2018 or 19 in the Money in the Bank match where I wanted to hang from the briefcase and swing from it and fall, and a pile of girls catch me, and they're like, no, 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 that's a little too dangerous. I'm like, do you not know I was in gymnastics for 18 years and the bar was this high? I would do double backflips and layoffs out from underneath the bars. I promise you I'm okay. Just let me do it. And it would be a wow factor, and I just don't think that they had the confidence in me. Now, Booker T has responded to this on his Hall of Fame podcast. I think she had a multitude of chances to actually get over. I think it was more so, I don't know. I think the fans really never got behind Dana Brooke. I thought Dana Brooke had a lot of chances to actually get over with the fans. That's what I always talk about as far as people looking for the company to write something for them, looking for the company to give them the ball and let them do this and win the title and all that kind of stuff. I always thought you make the company right for you by going out there and making the fans come out of their damn seats. That's the way I think you get put in that position. I don't think you can just get put in that position because this person should have a turn, this person should have a turn, and this person should have a turn. It's not like Pop Warner where everybody gets a trophy. It's not like just because you've been around, you should be in a certain position. I think your work determines what position you achieve. That's just me. I could be wrong, but that's the way I've always looked at this business. Taking to X, Austin Theory provided an update on his in-ring status after suffering a concussion on Raw.
Hey, so this Friday, I'm a busy man. I've already said that. Very busy. And I actually pulled Grayson aside, and I told him everything. And he was like, I'm so sorry, man. Like, I didn't realize how hard Austin Theory actually has to work. All the places you gotta be, all the people you have to be there for. And I was like, hey, man, you know, all these keyboard warriors on the internet in their mom's basement eating cheese sticks all day, they don't know a day of hard work. They just go, you don't have potential. You don't have what it takes. But you know what they have? They have the ability to know how it looks to be a damn beanbag chair. So congrats to them. But Grayson was like, you know what? Let's get you out of this match. And I said, you know, no, because I'm Mr. All Day. So I'm going to be there on Friday in Miami. And Carmelo, you keep saying you're him, you're him. Well, guess what? When all the greats come back, they want to be in the ring with me. They want their 15 seconds of fame. And I give it to them. And that's a fact because I'm Austin Theory. But just remember, last time we were in the ring, we were both down. But we both walked out. We did. But this time, you're the only one that's going to be down. And I'm the only one that's walking out. Because A-Town is going to put it down.
As it was announced that AEW would be bringing back rankings for their talent, this was said regarding who could have been the one responsible for the promotion doing away with them, with Brian Alvarez noting on the Brian and Vinny show, I was told it was CM Punk. He talked Tony Khan into getting rid of the rankings. Staying on the topic of AEW bringing back their weekly rankings, former WCW President Eric Bischoff had this to say about it on his 83 Weeks podcast. It can be effective. It can also see you painting yourself into a corner that you'll never get out of. That's probably why it didn't work out the first time, because you've got to really do a great job of merging creative and math, because those two things generally don't go together. Usually good creative is kind of void of good math. Good math isn't very creative, but it can be done. It's a big risk because if it's not going well, if there's a flaw in your system, your audience is going to see it and they're going to let you know and they're going to lose faith so fast. I liked the idea of doing it. I think it's one of the things that I was excited about back in 2019 when I heard that this was going to be one of the things, this was going to be the unique selling proposition for those of you who have spent, 45 minutes in a marketing 101 class in junior college. That was the one thing that to me made AEW potentially feel different than WWE, but they abandoned it pretty quickly. One of the dots that created the pattern that I began to see early on is you make a promise to your audience when you launch a brand, your branding statement, your mission statement, call it whatever you want. We are going to be different because we're doing this. Then you get everybody to rally behind you, and then you don't do this. You do the same thing they're doing. It's a big dent. It's a big dent on the side of that brand new shiny AEW car. Big dent. You kicked the door in yourself. Let's see. It can be done, but it's really hard. Really hard. I'm concerned that since there's been a severe lack of creative horsepower in AEW, inconsistent all over the map, non-existent more often than not in terms of real story. I should say a compelling story. Meaning a story that actually matters. The void comes to creative that I've seen out of AEW for the last 2 years doesn't suggest to me that there's a lot of hope that they're going to figure out that formula. When it comes to CM Punk's upcoming appearances for WWE, Ringside News wrote that WWE has been booking CM Punk for house shows, allowing fans to witness his in-ring action at events like Madison Square Garden and Inglewood, California. Punk has been actively involved in WWE's live events, providing fans with memorable moments. Before World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins suffered a knee injury, Punk was reportedly slated to challenge Rollins for the title at WrestleMania 40 in Philadelphia. While plans may have shifted due to Rollins' injury, Punk's potential WrestleMania storyline remains a focal point of discussion among fans. Furthermore, WWE's official website is advertising CM Punk for upcoming episodes of Raw, including the post-Royal Rumble edition on January 30th in Tampa. WWE has also confirmed his appearance at the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view event next month. Going over WWE's interest in signing former New Japan star Tama Tonga, Ringside News wrote, during the recent edition of Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer stated that the Stamford-based promotion still had maintained their interest in signing him since last year, and there were reports about discussions taking place to bring him over to WWE once the old deal came to an end. As far as Tonga is concerned, he bid farewell to NJPW at the New Beginning show. He dropped the Never Openweight Championship to Evil and will finish up with the company at the end of January. Tama Tonga made a few appearances for the newly rebranded TNA in 2022 and 2023, despite AEW and WWE being considered to offer big money deals to sign him. Touching on Andrade's departure from AEW and what could be next for him, it was said by the Fightful Backstage Report that Andrade looks to be headed to WWE. He told Talent he was likely staying in AEW. That changed just days before AEW World's End. We were told there was a frustrating situation which led to him effectively giving notice, saying, "I'm leaving," which was in his contractual right to do so, as he had not signed a new deal. I know one had been discussed, but he did not sign one with AEW and was free to go after World's End. His original deal was 2 years and it was extended due to injury time, and he was signed through until the end of 2024. We were told Charlotte pushed for his return to WWE, and Andrade actually pushed for Ric Flair to come into AEW. Breaking his silence on his decision to leave New Japan Pro Wrestling, Kazuchika Okada told Tokyo Sports, "First of all, my contract was up for 5 years this year, the last year of my contract. It was a good time for me to think about something. When I thought about whether I would sign another contract with New Japan Pro Wrestling or whether I would look at other worlds, I thought that maybe this was my last chance. After announcing that I was quitting and going on the tour, I felt too comfortable. I wondered what that would be like. I started my wrestling career in Mexico, came to New Japan Pro Wrestling, and became a Rainmaker 12 years later. Maybe if I stay here, I can wrestle without any inconvenience, but I don't want to become the same Kazuchika Okada without such hunger. I don't want to be in a situation where I have to rest on my laurels. If I were human Okada, I would have friends here, and I would be in the best environment, but as wrestler Okada, it was different." Mentioning a possible return to New Japan following the departure of Okada, Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful noted New Japan sources had heard that he made it clear he was leaving. They were telling us that the departure was an amicable one and that the door likely always remained open. There doesn't appear to be any ill will. And finally, this was said about a Royal Rumble appearance for Okada in WWE, with Fightful revealing that his deal is up on January 31st, so he's not eligible to enter the Royal Rumble or anything like that unless a special agreement is put in place, but he's also committed to dates after his contract is up. This was previously said regarding Okada being a part of WrestleMania 40, as Sports Illustrated noted. There is also significant interest from WWE, specifically from Paul Triple H Levesque and Shawn Michaels. Sports Illustrated as confirmed. While it is difficult to procure information from Okada's camp, multiple sources close to NJPW revealed that he has always wanted to perform at a WrestleMania. Levesque is aware of this and has the right opponents, specifically AJ Styles and Finn Balor, who have pre-existing relationships with Okada and would both be perfect for Okada's debut if he were to wrestle at WrestleMania 40. Who's going to beat Gunther for the IC title, and how do we get him into the main event picture? Let's talk about that in today's Wrestling Ramble. There's been this notion with the Intercontinental Championship. It was known as the workhorse title. The guy who in WWE worked the hardest would have that belt as recognition for all their hard work, and a lot of times it was the best performer they had too. It was the best professional wrestler, the best who could go in the ring, had the Intercontinental title. But more than anything, the Intercontinental title is seen as a rite of passage, a next step, a chance to really test a star's mettle and see if they are championship material, world championship material, if they're able to be the face of a company, a true superstar. That's what the IC belt represents to me and a lot of people, is that next step. And Gunther is well on his way of establishing himself as a main event player. You could already make the argument that he is at that level. I think he's very close. And you could pull the trigger on him going to the main event at any point now. It's a little dicey at this point in time, though. You've got a lot of baby faces, big baby faces. You've got CM Punk, you've got Cody Rhodes, you've got Jey Uso, and the list goes on of all these big names. And when it comes to the WrestleMania picture, for example, this isn't really the season for Gunther to be challenging for a world title. More than likely, Punk is going to be taking on Seth Rollins. I could see Punk winning the Royal Rumble and then challenging Rollins at WrestleMania. They're already building that feud between them. And then you've got the rematch between Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns as the other main event of WrestleMania. Gunther will probably end up defending his IC title at Mania against somebody. I don't know who that will be. We'll have to figure it out. The question really is, how do you go about getting the belt off of Gunther, but not having him be damaged by losing the title? You take no shine and no value away from Gunther if you get the belt off of him, and then you immediately get him into the main event scene and have him challenging for either the World Heavyweight or the undisputed Universal title, which will probably just revert back to being the WWE Championship after WrestleMania, but he needs to be going for the world title. That's the one thing that's always thrown me for a loop, especially with the main roster, because if you do it on NXT, if you have an NXT champion, they lose their belt, and then they go to the main roster, well, there's not a whole lot of people that were watching NXT. Now it's a little different because it's on television, but at the very least, it's a separate brand that's not viewed as much. So not everyone that's at SmackDown knows the history of NXT. More and more people now do. But on the main roster for the longest time, you'd have an up-and-coming guy. They'd win the Intercontinental Championship, or maybe even on the other brand, the United States Championship. They would lose that title and then immediately segue into the main event and start challenging for the World Championship. And it's just always been a little bit puzzling in that regard going about it, because now you have your world champion and they've been defeated by the guy who holds the mid-card title. Well, you lost the mid-card title and now you're going to be the world champion. That's the only thing that makes it a little bit difficult. But in the case of Gunther, how do you have him lose the title if you're going to have him lose the title. Because I don't want to just see him vacate it. Here's what doesn't make sense. Here's what he absolutely should not do. He should not say, I've outgrown the title and I'm vacating it and I'm going to challenge for the world championship. I don't like that one bit. Why would you not want 2 belts at the same time? If it had to come down to something like that, you could just have Gunther, as the Intercontinental Champion, face the world champion. Then you can promote it as a super match, champion versus champion, have the image of him holding up 2 belts or having 2 belts, makes it even more prestigious, and then maybe you could have him stripped of the Intercontinental title or forced to vacate it since he's no longer defending it. They don't want to hold the division up, whatever logic they want to use for that, and then they can have a tournament to crown a new champion. I don't really like that too much either, but it's a lot better than him vacating it himself and then just going after the world title. That is my least favorite option. The next thing you could do is just the traditional method, have someone beat him for the belt, pick someone that's a big star. It's obviously going to have to be a babyface. Gunther's a heel. You need a babyface to face him and beat him for the belt, and there's some options. And I don't think it's going to be anytime soon, so I think we have a little bit of leeway here on the timeline to play around with some potential contenders. And we'll get into those in a second. But on the topic specifically, referring to how do you have him lose the belt, I think it's going to have to be some kind of finish where it's not clean. It's not going to be a clean finish. I don't think it can be. That doesn't mean the babyface has to cheat. That should be the last thing on anyone's mind. I don't like that. But what I would say you could do is have his stooges mess it up for him. They interfere when they're not supposed to, end up costing him the match, and then he can say, no, I didn't lose that match. You lost that match. That's not a loss for me. And guess what? I was the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion. I don't need it. I'm done with it. Then he can use that frustration that he has with his stablemates, with losing the title, and turn it into resolve to go after the WWE or the World Heavyweight title. I think that's the best course of action you can take. Just thinking off the top of my head, if you have an idea for how Gunther should lose the belt, not necessarily who he should lose against, I want to hear that too. We're going to get into the opponents in just a second, but I do want to hear from y'all on how this match goes down and how you get the belt off Gunther, because he's looking indomitable. He's looking great. He's got such momentum, longest reigning IC champ. You can't just have him lose it clean and then him go after the world title. I don't like that. It's not creative. Let's figure something else out. Now, who beats him for that IC title? Who's going to stand across from him in that match? I think you could go with Jey Uso. Main event. Jey Uso could take on Gunther and win the title. And Jey would make a great champion, a fighting champion, defend it weekly, have some open challenges maybe. I always like the open challenges, giving people a spotlight to come and wrestle. Gives an excuse for also 2 baby faces to go at it as well, just for the competitive spirit. And then he can save the feuds for a potential heel down the line for the pay-per-views, for those matches. I think Jey Uso's a good candidate to take the belt off of him and to have as your IC champion after Gunther. There's Sami Zayn. Sami has lost a lot of his luster since coming off of the Roman Reigns program. That was the best work of his career that he was doing in the Bloodline, and we knew he was going to cool off. He couldn't maintain all of that. He was, at that time, the most over guy in the company, most over babyface at the very least. And if you were going to pull the trigger on Sami Zayn being a world champion, it should have been then. But I don't necessarily disagree with the decision to not have Sami go over Roman Reigns. But giving Sami Zayn the Intercontinental Championship, I like that. And there's a lot of ways you can go with it. And Sami Zayn makes such a good defending babyface if he's got the title. Sami Zayn can have a great match with so many people. And once again, with Jey Uso, the potential is really limitless there. Another guy, this might be my least favorite option, but you could have Brock Lesnar. You could finally do the dream match between Gunther and Lesnar is now challenging for the IC title. That makes it a little interesting, doesn't it? Lesnar is not only challenging for Gunther's title, but he's challenging for the Intercontinental Championship, belt he's never won. Now, the reason I don't like it is because Lesnar is on and off, and we don't need, in this scenario, a babyface Lesnar winning the title, and then you inevitably have to worry about how we're going to get the belt off of Brock. I want to see Gunther Lesnar and Gunther needs to win that match. That would be a great way to establish himself as a main event star, as a beast, as a really high caliber opponent, beating Brock Lesnar. And Gunther has been calling for that match for a long time. Do you hold off till WrestleMania to do it? I don't know. You could do it for WrestleMania 40, Gunther versus Lesnar. But like I said, Lesnar needs to be a babyface, and Gunther would probably have to retain. So I think I like it more if they just do the match for the title and Gunther just beats him. I don't like Lesnar winning that match in any fashion. But a non-clean finish to have Lesnar beat Gunther, same scenario that we mentioned before, that's not out of the realm of possibility. It's not something that I'm entirely against. I just don't like it. Now, like I said, I don't think they're taking the title off Gunther anytime soon, and it doesn't look like there's really a great path for Gunther to become champion right now. You've got Rollins and Punk for the world title, and you've probably got Reigns and Cody for the Universal title, and Gunther's not going to be able to go up against Roman Reigns. You've got two heels. One would have to be a babyface, and I just don't foresee that happening, at least not anytime soon. You could have the match with Roman later, but I think Roman's going to drop the belt before then. One guy that's been out of action for a long time, and when he comes back, he's going to get a massive pop, and a lot of fans, I'm sure, are ready to see him. What about Big E? This might be my favorite option, because we've got time to have Gunther continue to reign as champion. This gives Big E more time to recover, and you could set it up to where maybe Gunther was going to face another babyface for the title. He's going to defend the IC championship, and his goons attack that guy behind the scenes. And then right as that guy's supposed to walk out, Adam Pearce shows up, says, you know what? You thought you could get out of this title defense? You're not. He's not clear to compete, and I'm not going to send a weakened opponent out there. You are going to face this man. And out comes Big E to a monster ovation. Gunther wasn't prepared to face Big E. He's got that excuse built in. And you could still have his goons try to rectify the scenario. See, this even gives them more motivation to step up for Gunther, because Gunther was unprepared for Big E. They try to distract him. It doesn't work in their favor. It screws over Gunther. He loses the belt. 1, 2, 3. Big E's the new champion. Gets 2 massive pops. Gets the return pop on the entrance. Gets to hold up the championship. He's back from a broken neck and in a big way, and he's the champion. Get to have his return promo the next night after that pay-per-view. I think I like that scenario more than anything else. I think you should do Gunther Big E. I'm hoping Big E can recover in time for that to line up. But what do you guys think? Be sure to let me know in the comments what you would like to see. How are we getting the belt off of Gunther? What do you want to see in this title reign? And who beats him for the title? Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments. I want to hear from you, and I will see y'all later.